Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker. Another big show coming up this week. We've got plenty of postseason action to get to as golf has finished its season. Cross country is coming down to the nitty-gritty. Volleyball and soccer still in progress. But before we get there, we're gearing up to the football postseason. And to join me as we talk about the rivalry games, Coach Greg Kelly. Coach, welcome back to the show. Hard to believe that it's been 10 weeks since we sat down here and there was all kinds of optimism swirling for all of the football teams. And now, save for one in particular and possibly two, this will be the final week of play.
Right, and that's what happens after 10 weeks of play. The optimism is still there. The players are still going to have that when they go out on the field. It's just that they know that this is the last game. And for the seniors, it's the one that really, really counts because they know this is the last time I put the pads on.
99 seniors in Washington County playing their final regular season games coming up this week. Let's start with what happened last week as we get into those rivalry games. We'll begin with the Boonesboro-Smithsburg game, and the lead into that, we'll start with Boonesboro, a team that had lost 2 games in a row, sort of foiling their playoff chances, and all of a sudden they get the number 2 team in 2A West in Poolesville at their place last Friday night. And wouldn't you know, the Warriors go out and win that game, 28-19. So a lot of late season resolve out of that particular team. And early on in that football game, Bo Bodenheimer's really come out of nowhere this year, scoring his 9th touchdown for the Warriors, gave them the early lead. And Jeff Bennett, who's been pretty solid at quarterback all year long, throws a touchdown pass, also ran for one. And Owen Glass, who is certainly the speedster for that Boonesboro team, gets in the end zone on an 85-yard kickoff return. And they beat Poolesville and knocked them down from the 2 spot in the rankings in 2A West to the 4 spot. Boonesboro moves up to the 6 spot, so it looks like their season will come to an end after this week, but they can go 6-4. And Coach, Boonesboro has been just a tremendous football team when it comes to putting together winning records for the Warriors. This would be their 4th consecutive winning season and the 9th in their last 10 if they can get the win over Smithsburg on Friday.
Yeah, Coach Andrews has always said that's what he wants to do. He shoots for that winning season. So whatever happens after that is the icing on the cake. And if playoffs are there, they are there. But you want to have that winning season because if you get that winning season year after year after year, then you build that tradition, you build that goal within those kids that are coming up. And they don't want to be that team that's not going to have that winning season.
Boonesboro goes into that rivalry game 5-4 against the Smithsburg team that's been up and down all year. It seemed like they just couldn't get their feet under them early in the season, and that really hurt from a win-loss record standpoint. 3-6 is the record coming into Week 10 after a loss last week to Catoctin. The final score there was 42-8, a game in which the Leopards gave up many big plays. There were 4 that covered better than 50 yards that went for touchdowns for Catoctin. The only touchdown for Smithsburg came in the 4th quarter. Dylan Curtis with a 12-yard run. The Leopards have shown flashes this season, Coach, under brand new head coach Steve Lindsay there. But in the end, I think to get a win in this rivalry game would sort of be their Super Bowl for this season. And 3 wins, I mean, you look at what they've done recently, 11-28 since making the playoffs back in 2010. So this could be a little bit of a launching pad victory for Smithsburg into next season.
You're right. To have 4 wins at this stage of the game, I think would be very good for them looking back on everything. A lot of young kids playing on the team, a lot of young kids coming back. If they can play well, they have to stay away from giving up a big play to Boonesboro. Boonesboro has that advantage because they can do that. So if they can keep away from the big play from Boonesboro, maintain the ball, keep it away from Boonesboro, period, which has been their game plan all along, they'll stand a chance in this thing, and they can't make any turnovers, and they have to get some turnovers from Boonesboro.
And another key to that, when you talk about making mistakes, turning the ball over, they can't commit those penalties either that have hurt them and plagued them all season long. Smithsburg hasn't been above 500 to finish a season since way back in 2010. 4-6, their best record back in 2012 most recently. So again, trying to get there on Friday. Williamsport in Clear Spring, another of those, as they call them, rivalry games. I think still for Clear Spring, Hancock is their main rival, but you have to have both teams winning really to establish a rivalry. That hasn't happened in that series yet. Williamsport is 10-0 against Clear Spring, won last year by a score of 60-19. Clear Spring comes in with more momentum than Williamsport, though. Situationally, this is a much better game for Clear Spring, coming off a win over East Hardy, 3rd in a row for the Blazers. Henry Eby, their quarterback, I mean, where's this guy come from? He's thrown 13 touchdown passes this season, second best in the county. 3 of those came last week in the win over East Hardy. 27-14 was the final score. They also have the leading rusher in the county in sophomore Joe McCoy, so they offer some diversity on the offensive side. 1-5 now, all time against East Hardy, but that one's a big one because they just got it, and now they're playing a team, as I said, that they've never beaten before, and Williamsport a little bit down after having lost last week to South Hagerstown. For Clear Spring, playoffs still a possibility there in that they're in the 6th spot, 0.6 of a point back in the point average coming in. So for Clear Spring, everything to gain in this game.
Yeah, there is. And again, what you're looking at is the fact that they're going into this week saying, you know, we've never beaten Williamsport, but we never beat East Hardy either.
That's right.
And we did that last week, so why can't we do this again? You guys played well. It's just a matter of going on. And again, the same type of situation. Don't commit any turnovers. Run the ball the way we can run it. Throw it when we need to throw it. Keep the points on the board. You got to match what Williamsport does, but don't give Williamsport any big plays because they have that capability, and so you got to shut that part down. Very similar to what Smithsburg has to do.
Yeah, some very staggering numbers, though, against Clear Spring. 1-50 all time against MVAL opposition. No wonder they got out of the MVAL. And 7-44 all time against Washington County opposition, and they haven't beaten any teams not named Hancock or St. James to this point. But Coach Bathgate said before the season, hey, this is the time that we need to turn it around. This is the year that we need to do it. 6-4, you look at that potentially as their final record. When you look at Williamsport on the other side of that, not many people would realize this, but Clear Spring has had a record above 500 to end the season more recently than Williamsport. You have to go all the way back to 1999 since Williamsport had a winning record. And of course, on their side, when you talk about who you need to stop, Savon Brown, looking for another 1,000 season in rushing and passing yards.
Yeah, I just think they've done a very nice job down there. They've improved. One of the things that you always say is you look at the beginning of the season and look at the end of the season. You know, if I played you early in the season, I'm glad I'm not playing you at the end of the season. And I think the Williamsport team has improved week after week after week. And they're on the right track. He's doing the right thing down there. So, yeah, that Savon Brown, you know, good ball player, and I'm sure that's in the back of his mind. He's going to get that 1,000.
Yeah, it should be a very interesting game coming up on Friday. We'll talk more about Williamsport and how they kind of got themselves into a position where this might not be as big a game as it potentially could have been for them. When we come back, we'll talk that. And, of course, the North Hagerstown-South Hagerstown game coming up, which we'll be covering on Antietam Cable. More on that in just a moment.
Wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Punch it, kick it, giving it all. Premier Martial Arts helps take it to the top, y'all. Jab, cross, hook, kick, you feel it when we stick it. Wanna be one, winner, yeah, I won. I'm Premier, number one. Wanna be number one, kids? Have your parents call.
For over 25 years, Tony's Pizzeria has been serving authentic Italian cuisine. Open daily for lunch and dinner. Stop by today and enjoy one of their many house favorites, made fresh from scratch daily, in the newly expanded and remodeled dining area. Serving a full liquor bar, beer, and wine, Tony's 50-person banquet room is perfect for your next celebration. Dine in, take out, or delivery. Come see what's new at Tony's Pizzeria Restaurant and Grill, 10 East Salisbury Street in Williamsport.
Welcome back to the show. More football now as we get ready for the big North Hagerstown-South Hagerstown Gridiron Championship Classic coming up on Friday at School Stadium. And we begin by looking back to last week and what the two teams did. North Hagerstown came in without a win so far this season. It was their final game at home, and the seniors playing there were inspired early on. Calvin Bembry, who would end the night with a season and career high 192 yards rushing, put the Hubs on top less than 5 minutes in, 7-0. So a good start. Then about 4.5 minutes later, now trailing 8-7, Andrew Fiery found Ron Carter, who found another gear, and 52 yards later found the end zone to put North back in front 14-8. The Hubs would make it 17-8 on Hunter Martin's 37-yard field goal early in the second quarter, and were clinging to a 1-point lead that just over midway through the third quarter then turned into a difficult situation for them. Brunswick creating the game's third lead change with its defense, a pick six, but North refused to fold, and by the time the period ended, the Hubs were back in front thanks to Bembry, 24-22. However, Brunswick wasn't finished either and forged back ahead 28-24 with 6:38 to play. Plenty of time for the Hubs, but they would shoot themselves in the foot on their ensuing possession, costing themselves a 4th down conversion due to a penalty, and consequently had to punt the ball back to Brunswick. The defense stepped up, forced a 4-and-out, giving the offense a final chance with just over 3 minutes left. But then 2 plays later, what looked to be a big one for North turned into a game ender as the Hubs turned it over, their 3rd of the game, and that results in their 10th loss in succession. It was their closest margin of defeat so far, 28-24, but moral victory is hard to come by in week 9 when you don't have a victory yet, Coach. And that's a North team that has just found ways to lose seemingly this season.
Well, when you start losing, that's what happens. You find ways to lose it, and what you do with winning teams is you find ways to win. So he's got to eliminate the mistakes, the turnovers, the penalties. You got to play error-free football in a game like this.
Yeah, when you don't have that margin for error, you can't afford to create chances for the other team. And Brunswick taking advantage. North had 343 yards of total offense. Brunswick had 355, so they were hanging in there, but it was 3rd down conversions that really hurt North too, on top of the difficulties that they had holding on to the ball and committing penalties. 2 for 10 on 3rd down, now just 2 for 19 on 3rd downs in the last 2 games. Tough to get it done that way.
Yeah, it's tough to do that in 2 downs, yes.
Yes, it is. South Hagerstown, on the other hand, going to Williamsport. Huge game for Williamsport, no question about that. Playoff implications for both teams. For South Hagerstown, really just solidifying their spot, maybe an outside shot at a home playoff game, moving up to number 2 in 3A West. Potentially, they needed a win for that. For Williamsport, they needed a win to have a shot at a 2A West playoff berth. Williamsport got the ball first, but one of the many things South does well is take it away. And on the 7th play, Josiah Johnson did just that. The Rebels would turn their 15th interception of the season into their 53rd touchdown of the year 2.5 minutes later, with Johnson doing the honors from 5 yards out. After the teams exchanged punts, the Wildcats used a resulting short field to take an 8-7 lead as Savon Brown scored from a yard out. And then Jordan Stonebreaker's 2-point conversion put them up with 8:14 remaining in the first half. It was the first time South had trailed in the last 25 quarters of play. South put together a 9-play, 49-yard drive that DeMaurier James would cap just over 3 minutes later to give the Rebels the lead back at 14-8. Then, on the 2nd play of the ensuing Williamsport series, it was the South D's turn again, with Jason Smith prying the football free and Cole Stotler recovering it at the Rebel 48. Now the Wildcat defense needed to step up, and ultimately they did. They faced 13 plays on the South drive, but they forced a turnover on downs just before halftime. With that, the defensive tone had been set, and the theme would be a recurring one through a long stretch of the second half until early in the 4th quarter. That's when James burst through a hole on the right side and dashed 30 yards to the house to open a 20-8 lead for South a minute 7 into the final period. The Wildcats needed an answer from their dormant offense, and though it took 14 snaps and 4 minutes and 33 seconds, they finished the 73-yard march, getting 6 points for Brown, and then, as they did earlier, another 2 from Stonebreaker to draw within 4 points with 6:15 left. But as well as Williamsport's D had played, it's extremely tough to bottle up the explosive Darian Robinson forever, and after being held to 45 yards on 14 carries, number 32 broke loose for 35 yards on his 15th attempt to extend the margin to 11 with 3:56 to go. Williamsport then proceeded to drive into plus territory, but the Cats' 3rd big negative play of the night sealed their fate when Johnson undercut the pass intended for Manny Morris and returned it 57 yards to put South Hagerstown in the win column for the 17th consecutive time in the regular season. The final, 34-16, 17 consecutive regular season wins. What's the significance of that? Is there any?
Coming into this game, no, because you take them one at a time. And it doesn't matter if you've won 100 in a row, you have that one sitting in front of you. But overall, the significance is that it builds a program, and the kids know that they are expected to win. It's not, we think we're going to go out and win. Everybody in the school and everybody around them just expects them to go out and win.
Well, this will be the 58th all-time meeting between North Hagerstown and South Hagerstown coming up on Friday night. And South, winning last year, has now won 2 of the last 3 in a series that they trail by 4 all-time. They haven't won back-to-back have the Rebels since the 01-02 seasons. Everything seems to be pointing in their direction, though. So if you're South Hagerstown, how do you guard against a letdown in a game where you've got a team without a win coming to your place? You've got all the wins.
Well, what you have to do, and this is tough, because now this is the 1 week where you have to temper that enthusiasm. You have to corral it. You have to, focus, have the kids focus in on what they have to do. They're excited about this game. It's the rivalry. It's the one that they all look for back in August when they start practice. But right now they feel pretty good about themselves, and knowing where North is sitting right now, they think they have that opportunity. So you got to just temper them and make sure that they do what they have to do.
How important is it for the Rebels that they were kind of in this position last year, knowing they were already going to the playoffs and having this game? How big is that experience for them?
Well, the experience part is very big, especially for those kids who were on that team last year. And all those juniors who are sophomores saw that also. The coaching staff has been through it, so they know what to do and how to handle that particular situation. So last year was a stepping stone, but it's a big stepping stone.
Preston Carey not expected to play with a shoulder injury for North Hagerstown. Andrew Fiery could be limited at quarterback for North Hagerstown. They'll need all hands on deck. Again, big game for the seniors there. Of course, this is the one everybody it'll be the Super Bowl for North Hagerstown, no doubt about it. And for South Hagerstown, hopefully for them, their 18th regular season win heading to another playoff spot. Rebels, by the way, they've lost the last 8 in a row in this series at School Stadium. That's a ridiculous number there. We'll see what transpires on Friday. Coach will call that game, and it'll be on Antietam Cable next week. Look forward to seeing you then.
Look forward to it. It should be a good one.
Certainly should be. We'll be back, or I'll be back right after this. Coach, you can take your leave of me for the time being. I'll be back right after this. Got all the rest of the fall sports to talk about in just a moment.
Since 1963, you've been trusting the folks at Hagerstown Floors. It's still a family-owned and operated business featuring a variety of high-quality flooring choices for your home, like carpet, ceramic, hardwood, vinyl, and we offer floor sanding and refinishing for your existing hardwoods. And you'll find us stocked warehouse, full of flooring options for do-it-yourselfers, or take advantage of our in-house installers for expert installation. Hagerstown Floors on Virginia Avenue in Hagerstown, the trusted name in flooring since 1963.
Welcome back to the show. There's golf and cross country just ahead in this segment. But first, a little more football to get to, including the Inside Sports Tony's Pizzeria premier performer. And he comes from the Williamsport South Hagerstown game, and that would be Rebel running back and defensive back Josiah Johnson, who was prevalent early and late in that football game. Early on, he came up with one of his 2 interceptions, which led to a touchdown run. And then late, he salted the game away with that 57-yard interception return for South Hagerstown that went for a score. In between, 8 tackles for Johnson as he led that South Hagerstown defense that held Williamsport 22 points below its scoring season average coming in and over 200 yards below its total yardage average. For having such an incredible impact on the game, offensively and defensively, our Tony's Pizzeria Premier Performer of the Week is South Hagerstown's Josiah Johnson. Now, back to the gridiron and a couple of more games to get to. With its schedule reduced by 1 game because of circumstances beyond its control, Hancock knew that handling its business, i.e. winning its final 2 games, was imperative if the Panthers were to even have a shot at a return to the playoffs. What Hancock could ill afford to do was squander opportunities, and against Silver Oak Academy on Friday, that's just what the Panthers did. Their only touchdown came in the second half while in catch-up mode, as Hancock scored its fewest points in a game since Week 10 of the 2012 season in a 34-8 setback. The loss ended a 3-game winning streak and sends the Panthers into their season finale this Friday against 2-7 Berkeley Springs with a record of 5-3. St. James carried a 5-3 mark into its year-ender against Murray last Saturday. The Saints had dropped their last 3 games coming in, but were determined to finish 2014 with a W. After the St. James D turned in a huge goal line stand in the second quarter, the offense went to work and navigated nearly the entire length of the field, with Tyler Raymond hitting Grant Tribble for the go-ahead touchdown less than a minute before the half. More tough Saint defense in the second half preserved the 14-7 advantage until Murray managed to score the equalizer midway through the fourth quarter. With the wick now turned up, St. James turned to Gavin Smoot. In turn, the freshman didn't disappoint. Smoot notched the most important of his 150 rushing yards with 1:56 remaining to put the Saints back in front. But while Murray wasn't quite finished, neither was Smoot. 58 seconds later, he plucked this tip pass out of the air and sprinted 42 yards to ensure victory for St. James, 30-14. A happy ending to a successful 6-3 season. On the final day of the state golf championships last Wednesday, the county's remaining representation consisted of 2 Leopards, a Warrior, and a Panther. By the time all the balls had been struck and all the divots replaced, the Panther, Hancock senior Kyle Kearns, emerged with the top score among county players. Kearns carded a county best final round 79, giving him a 2-day total of 161, good for a 37th place tie overall, and 10 shots better than Smithsburg's Jordan Tapley. Tapley followed up his opening day 85 with an 86. His resulting total of 171 landed him 2 strokes in 2 places, ahead of fellow junior Tyler Olson of Boonesboro, who finished 74th on the boys' 36-hole leaderboard. For the lone county girl to qualify for Day 2, as it turned out, Day 1 was much more memorable. Smithsburg's Alden Grosh got there by firing a career-low 87 on Tuesday, but struggled to a 96 on Wednesday. While Grosh ended her initial trip to states in a respectable tie for 17th, the Leopard sophomore still has not 1, but 2 more chances to get back to College Park before her high school career concludes. Before this year's banner cross-country season draws to a close for South Hagerstown, the Rebels made more history last Thursday at the 3A West Region meet at Watkins Mill. The South girls team dramatically qualified for the state championship event for the first time ever and did it by a single point. Although Frederick had the highest individual finisher, it was Rebel freshman Caitlin Baker who finished 1 spot ahead of Frederick's number 4 girl, and South junior Caroline O'Reilly, who came in 7 ahead of the cadets' number 5, that enabled the Rebels to capture the 7th and final qualifying position for states, 198-199. The South boys were not quite as fortunate, but will still send 3 to run at Hereford. Junior Darren Harmon, senior Aaron Leiter, and sophomore Timmy Whitmer, who placed 7th, 20th, and 23rd respectively at regions. At the 2A West Region meet in Eldersburg, Boonesboro's Haley Wright chalked up another victory and smashed yet another course record in the process. The junior bettered the Liberty course mark by 1.9 seconds and prevailed by nearly 12 seconds in capturing her biggest race of the year en route to the biggest race of the year. Wright will attempt to finish a perfect season by bringing home the 2A state title on Saturday and keep it in the Boonesboro family. The injured Megan Grahams raced to victory for the Warriors in Westminster last November on a day Wright ran 4th as a sophomore. She'll be the only Warrior girl competing at states this time after the team missed out on qualifying by 5 points. Boonesboro junior Michael Baer knows how she feels. By virtue of his 19th place finish, Baer is in, but his team came up 6 points short, leaving him as the sole boys qualifier. There will be no such loneliness surrounding Smithsburg runners at the 1A state championship meets. Not surprisingly, the Leopard girls ran away with the West Region crown last Thursday at Clear Spring. Fresh off winning last week's county title, the reigning region titleists outdistanced Northern Garrett by 80 points to easily defend their championship. Smithsburg left no doubt about it by laying claim to half of the top 10 spots, with sophomore Mallory Maholt, freshman Madeline Gilliam, and sophomore Quinn Wondolowski paving the way. Runners up a year ago at states, the Leopard girls appear poised to get to the top on Saturday. Meantime, the boys will be brimming with confidence too. Smithsburg's guys dethroned the defending region champs from Southern Garrett, posting a 7-point victory that will send them to Hereford as the 1A West region champions. And the Leopard most pumped of all has to be sophomore Will Merritt, who picked a prime time to record the first win of his cross-country career. Merritt's margin of victory in his come-from-behind triumph was just over 7 seconds. He was joined in the top 8 by Patrick Conlon and Will Miller as the pack running style that's worked for the girls all season clicked for the boys last Thursday. Now it's on to Hereford High School this Saturday, where the first state championship race involving county runners will be the 3A West girls event set to go off at 10:30. Next up, the latest from postseason soccer and volleyball. It's coming your way right after this.
For over 25 years, Tony's Pizzeria has been serving authentic Italian cuisine. Open daily for lunch and dinner. Stop by today and enjoy one of their many house favorites, made fresh from scratch daily, in the newly expanded and remodeled dining area, serving a full liquor bar, beer and wine. Tony's 50-person banquet room is perfect for your next celebration. Dine in, take out, or delivery. Come see what's new at Tony's Pizzeria Restaurant and Grill, 10 East Salisbury Street in Williamsport.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. Well, 12 county high school soccer teams embarked on what they each hoped would be long playoff runs when the draws came out back on October 20th. But by the time last week's show aired, all but 2 girls' squads had had their hopes dashed, and of the 2 remaining, one had yet to play a game, while the other had already played and won 2. The third time out proved not to be the charm for a Williamsport team that had suddenly captured lightning in a bottle. The 2A West Region Section 1's number 4 seed rolled into Oakdale, the number 2 seed, on a 7-game winning streak, but the Wildcats wouldn't leave with the streak or their season intact. The Bears doubled up a 2-0 halftime lead to win the section title and advance to the region state semis by a score of 4-0. Williamsport finished the year with the county's second-best record at 10-7. As for the team with the top mark, the Smithsburg Leopards, the top seed in 1A West Section 2, they finally got to join the playoff party just as it had ended for the rest of our schools. Hosting third-seeded Brunswick last Friday, Smithsburg's offense may have shown up fashionably late, but it was explosively on point. 4 second-half goals, 2 by Sarah Duckworth, erased a 1-goal deficit through the match's first 42 minutes and propelled the Leopards to a resounding 4-2 victory, which avenged a regular season loss to Brunswick and moved Smithsburg into the region title game on Tuesday against Section 1's number 1 seed, Northern Garrett. And against Northern, the Leopard offensive machine took little time to warm up. In the game's 4th minute, Erica Miller played the ball to Rebecca Morales, and Morales made no mistake, staking Smithsburg to a lead it would never relinquish, but only add to. Gabby Reason did just that in extra time just before the half, booting the Leopards to a 2-goal cushion at the intermission. Smithsburg did anything but go into a defensive shell following the break, and if anything, the Leopards became more aggressive, and Rachel Faust made that strategy pay off, tallying twice to ensure Smithsburg's 5th straight win, its 13th of the season, and most importantly, its 2nd consecutive 1A West Region Championship. Next up for the Leopards is 14-1-1 Manchester Valley, winners of the South Region thanks to a whopping 7-0 victory over Haverty Grace. Smithsburg will be seeking retribution in Saturday's state semifinal, having lost to the Mustangs 3-0 in their 3rd game of the year. Ironically, Smithsburg's volleyball postseason began Tuesday and moved forward with a straight sets win at Manchester Valley's expense. The 1A West Section 2's top seed completed the sweep after falling behind 15-8 in the 2nd game. From there, Lexi Spickler remarkably served 17 straight winners to close out set 2, and then the Leopards limited Manchester Valley to just 11 points in the 3rd en route to the section semifinal victory, which, by virtue of Clear Spring's simultaneous win over Brunswick in the other semi, set up Wednesday's all-Washington County section final between seeds 1 and 2, respectively. Smithsburg plays host for this one, having defeated the Blazers in the regular season. The 3A West Section 1 semi also features a regular season rematch as the 1 and 2 seeds get together there too. Top seed North Hagerstown handled 4th-seeded Urbana on Monday night, completing its 12th sweep of the season. The Hubs overpowered the Hawks to open what they're planning on being a run to their 3rd state title in 4 years. Second-seeded Tuscarora, whom they defeated just over a month ago, poses the next challenge. The Titans have just 2 losses and eliminated South Hagerstown, who had advanced by defeating Frederick last Thursday. Speaking of last Thursday, in a 2A West Section 1 quarterfinal, 4th-seeded Boonesboro faced a familiar foe in 5th-seeded Williamsport. The Warriors had prevailed 3-1 2 weeks prior in the regular season, and history repeated last week. After Williamsport staved off defeat by winning the 3rd set, Boonesboro dug deep to hold the Wildcats off in the 4th 26-24 and move on to challenge the section's top seed, Mountain Ridge. The Warriors dropped the 1st set in the section semi, but rebounded to take the next 3 in succession to earn a trip to number 2 Oakdale to play for the section title on Wednesday. As of this week's taping, that leaves 4 county schools each 3 wins away from playing for a state volleyball title. Best of luck to all of our teams and athletes as the postseason hits a crescendo in 3 of the fall sports. Plenty of pictures, descriptions, and accounts of the action right here next week. Until then, thanks for watching. See you in 7 days on The Inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets